We are here today at St Dunstan's Church in Canterbury to talk about this book here. And if you're wondering why this particular church, stay tuned.
Thomas More is often remembered as a saint, a man who stood up for his beliefs and convictions and paid the ultimate price with his life. However, in this book we learn so much more about him. Paul manages to strip away the centuries of myths and shows him as a real man. And there's three things what this book is not. There is no propaganda. This is not a villain story. Also, it's not a hero story either. But it does ask what happens when conscience becomes inflexible. Who is Thomas More? Well, More was a lawyer, a scholar, a humanist, and eventually Lord Chancellor under Henry VIII. He was brilliant, hugely influential, deeply religious, and intensely stubborn. And crucially, he believed that God's law outweighed King's law. I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the flow of it. This was the first book I've read of Joanne Paul, but it is obvious in the writing and the research and the detail in this book how much time and effort in actual research has been put into this book. She does an excellent job bringing Thomas More to life. She doesn't pair him as a flawless martyr or a cruel fanatic, but she does show that he has a bit of compassion as well for individuals, but also ruthless to the ideas that he thought was dangerous. He did persecute heretics, and he did have an absolute refusal to compromise his beliefs. The real upheaval and the turning point of Thomas's life and of this book is when Henry VIII decided to break from Rome, and More refuses to sign the oath that says that Henry is supreme leader of the church. And Paul makes his point very clear. More wasn't just trying to be dramatic, but he actually really believed that his silence was obedience to God, but Henry VIII saw this as a defiance. More's imprisonment and final execution were handled really well in this book, and he goes to his death with absolute conviction that he was right. Can somebody be morally sincere but also morally wrong? Is compromise weakness or survival? I think not only is this a great book that talks about a prominent Tudor figure, but does it make you think harder about the actions of man. This book is for readers who love Tudor history and enjoy biographies that challenge sympathy. You might admire Thomas More after reading this book, to have the courage of his convictions, but you also may deeply disagree, but you won't come away thinking he was a simple man. Now we're going to go inside the church and we're going to find something that, say, belonged to Thomas More. Thomas More was executed on the 6th of July on Tower Hill, and his head, as was per custom, was placed on a spike at London Bridge. But the story says that his daughter Margaret Roper, who lived nearby this church, paid somebody to take it off and give it to her. And there are other stories that she used it as a relic and carried it around with her, which is a bit macabre. But honestly, maybe this was a tale that it was exaggerated by storytellers over the years. So we are in this church today because apparently his head is supposedly somewhere in this church, buried with Margaret herself.
I am now standing in the Roper Trantry, and right down here is a tomb. Beneath this floor is the vault of the Roper family, in which is interred the head of Sir Thomas More, sometimes Lord Chancellor of England, who was beheaded on Tower Hill 6th of July 1535. I'm going to show it to you. This plaque was put down in the 1930s, but originally it is thought that his head was actually on display somewhere in this church. And there's some beautiful stained glass windows as well. There we go. And you can see Thomas More in the middle at the bottom in the brown. Now there's so many different characters in this stained glass window. Makes you wonder who they all are. Here's a closer shot. It's gorgeous. I do love a good stained glass window. Up there is more stained glass windows, and again there's Thomas More, and the sun is actually shining through his face, which is quite nice. I'll show you. But being here and seeing the family tomb and everything makes me wonder if I want to make a separate video about her. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. If you like what you saw, please do come back for more, and I will see you again very soon with another video. Bye.